with Bitcoin slightly over 10% down from its all-time highs, and the top post on the stock market Reddit showing massive losses and redness penetrating deeply into nearly every stock. Are we going much, much lower? Or is this the last buy until you're dry, both figuratively and literally, opportunity before the biggest, pumpiest year for crypto since the beginning of Moonboy kind? So if you think about buying Bitcoin while you're eating, working, sleeping, heck, even making love, hit that like and subscribe. And without any further ado, let's completely and absolutely dump on it. Where we see the price of Bitcoin with just days left of this year is doing kind of what the stock market is doing, where we see stocks are actually down pretty drastically. In fact, the top post on the stock market thread was just like showing how everything is basically down the stock market. I'm looking at the side of my screen. We see the SPX currently down 1.15%, the NASDAQ down 1.5%, the Dow Jones even down 0.75%. Leaving many people to believe, is this the beginning of a much longer trend? Or I believe what most people kind of do understand is that this last week of the year is the least impactful, least trend indicative of any week of the year. I mean, think about it. Half of the businesses around me are closed for the next couple of days into the new year. As I'm sure most people know, this last week of the year, the period between the Christmas holidays and New Year's, basically these are like the chill, kind of ignore work. I mean, who's really working very hard this last week? Nobody I know, right? This is not a very serious and indicative of the future time period for the markets. Now, with that being said, as I said in the last video, I personally think that over the next few days, we could trend down a little bit, but most likely it's going to be potentially kind of sideways. But overall, once this new year gets kicked off and we actually enter Q1 2025, that's when I think it's kind of time to start paying attention to the markets again. I myself am kind of just backing off for the next few days because really, what's the point? I mean, as I just explained, I don't think there's much of a point to really think too much into what's happening right now and for the next couple of days. I think it's kind of like a just chill and wait scenario, but there absolutely is something huge that I want to talk about and a few things that I want to discuss in this video. So one of the first things, as I was on my way here, I was listening to, I'm sure you guys are familiar with Sarah Eisen, she's on CNBC. They were like interviewing Gil Loria and talking about Bitcoin, and something that Sarah Eisen and her co-host were talking about, especially Sarah Eisen, this is why I bring her up. She was basically saying that like she sees quite literally no use case for Bitcoin still, despite all of the people she's interviewed, despite all of the price appreciation. One of the main things they talk about on CNBC, people that are critical of Bitcoin, is they talk about how like, well, it's too volatile. You can't really use it as a currency. But at the same time, if you have the ability to just zoom out, just look at a bigger picture, and you look at this chart, the weekly chart for Bitcoin, and you zoom out, it has been doing a better job at holding value than anything in the entire world. And I think if you have the inability to just zoom out, and if you get sidetracked by like, oh, what is the price of Bitcoin yesterday versus 2 weeks ago versus what it might be 2 weeks from now, you're missing the bigger picture, and you're not going to be a successful investor, and you're just going to end up missing out on this opportunity, which again, most people already have. Most people, there's not a single person that thought Bitcoin was a scam 5 years ago. Not a single one of those people thought it would ever hit $100,000 per Bitcoin. And the bigger picture realistically is that if you understand what's happening here, if you understand the properties that Bitcoin has and why it's still going up, you have to ask yourself, if you think Bitcoin is just fake or it's a scam or something, what is the reason that it's going up, right? What is your actual honest answer? Because I would say most of the people that are uneducated out there that think that, their answer would probably be something along the lines of, oh, it's just a bubble. It's it's just a Ponzi scheme and it's going to crash eventually. But over a long enough period of time, I think most people should understand that, hey, maybe my thesis of it going to crash isn't actually going to work out. And you actually have to take a deeper dive and actually try to do more research into why. As I keep showing this chart, why is it doing this? Okay, why is it absorbing all of this capital? Why are so many assets being sold to accumulate more of this asset? Why? And again, there is a moment, as I've said a million times and most people have, there is a moment that once you understand it, you start panic buying for the rest of your life, because you understand how important it will be for not only gaining wealth, but keeping your wealth, storing your wealth. And it just blows my mind that somebody that's a financial well, I don't know if she's paid to have a different opinion, but a financial professional, I mean, I guess it's actually not that far-fetched. There's quite literally millions of financial professionals around the world that slowly they are like joining and accumulating Bitcoin, but every year that goes by, like more and more people are understanding it. But it's still crazy to me that there's still so many people that don't understand it. And again, that's just a better and better opportunity for everyone else. One of the reasons that I started off the video talking about this is because I don't care if we get a crash tomorrow or the first week of January or whatever it is. I am going to be doing what I've been doing for the last 8 years, and that's buying Bitcoin, right? Accumulating as much of it as I can. It's actually insane how easy the strategy is once you understand it. And another thing about this is that we are slowly, we're at $100,000 per Bitcoin, but all of my metrics, the personal ones I see on a YouTube channel with hundreds of thousands of views every month, actually hundreds of thousands of views every week, millions of views every month. I see these analytics, and there's a lot, you don't even need to see these analytics, the social analytics to know that this space is like still not even a fraction as euphoric as it was 4 years ago, meaning I think we have a lot more retail and a lot more new interest that has to come in before we top. And that's one of the things that characterizes a bull market, is that there's a lot of new people, there's euphoria, there's significant highs above previous all-time highs. But I will be honest as well, and this is my third cycle for Bitcoin, I personally, in a large sense, actually prefer bear markets and dumping over bull markets and pumping. And I'll get the easiest thing out of the way. I make so much more money in a bull market. So yes, I do like that, right? Most people make a lot of money in bull markets if they've been here for the entire 4-year cycle. It's really lucrative and it's a great experience. But one of the things that I love about bear markets is, one, if you understand Bitcoin, you have the opportunity to get it cheaper when it crashes in a bear market. So I like that. I like having that opportunity to do that because in my opinion, I'm very confident that this thing is going to keep going up and keep going up for as long as I can see. But the other thing is too, that the people that stick around in the bear markets are typically the people that also know that, the people that understand why Bitcoin has value. We don't have to convince anyone, because the people that stick around, and every bear market, it's more and more people, the people that stick around understand there is so much opportunity here, and there is not an alternative. It is the best alternative to fiat or whatever currency you have in your country. It's not inflationary. It's a million things that make it, quite honestly, the most, in my opinion, revolutionary asset we've ever had. I like that. I like that there's opportunity, and I think that the smarter people stick around in the bear markets. And during the bull markets, it becomes very frothy, and a lot of, how do I say this nicely, less intelligent people join in bull markets because they see easy money and they think things are only going to go up forever. And then they get really upset and cry and stuff when it ends up going down in a bear market, and they leave. When they shouldn't be leaving, that's when they should be buying, when it starts crashing and when it's a lot cheaper. You don't buy when it's high, but again, most people don't understand that concept. And the last thing I want to say before we jump into some news and actually looking at Bitcoin price is that I think that people like Sarah Eisen, as I highlighted, one of the reasons I think people are failing to understand this and see it for what it is as well, is because when fundamentally new things emerge, the only thing humans tend to do is compare it to other things, and they can't see a bigger picture. They can't see that something completely new, completely revolutionary actually could happen. They either put it into a box of comparing it only to things that they're familiar with, and they don't see that bigger picture. And I think a lot of people always miss out on that. For example, when the internet started, most people, 99.9% of people on the planet, when the internet came out, first of all, had no idea what it was, were not really interested in learning about it, thought it was just a passing fad. And the thing is, the internet didn't go away. Not only do most people use the internet nowadays, I would say most people are like addicted to the internet, where most people spend at least 6 hours a day in some form or another, using things on the internet, whether it's social media or watching video content on the internet or whatever it is. The internet not only was revolutionary, like it changed everything. And back in the late 90s, did people think the internet was going to change the world? No, like most people didn't think it would. Most people didn't even think half of the world, just a regular person, could have a computer in their house. Now most people have, like, if you include phones and laptops and iPads and all that, most people have like 5, 10, 15 different computers in their house, right? But, even just 20, 30 years ago, people were saying that was not even realistic whatsoever. There's no way everybody could have a computer, because back then computers were the sizes of bedrooms and, very expensive, very big. But very few people saw how revolutionary it was going to be. And now, imagine the world without the internet. If the internet went out tomorrow, chaos. The world would be chaos. People would be, let's just say there was no electricity tomorrow. Things would not go smoothly, in my opinion. I think there would be a lot of chaos and a lot of issues around the world. And all I'm saying is that this revolution, it's the first monetary revolution since well before I was born, in hundreds of years. I think it's the best money that's ever been created. And yeah, it's going to be volatile on short time frames, but if you look over a long enough time period, this is not volatile. This is something that if you go back in time, you think, holy heck, I should have been buying this the whole time. Every time it dropped, I should have been buying it. And every time, let me get the VRVP off the screen here. Every time that it would do this, where it would drop, most people thought, okay, that's it. The bubble burst, it's done. But quite literally, the exact opposite happened. It only went up higher and higher and higher every time. And now we sit on the precipice of another giant move away from these previous all-time highs back in 2021, where we currently we are much higher, but I personally think we're going much, much higher. When you have that perspective, you understand, like, wow, it really doesn't matter if Bitcoin sells off tomorrow or next week. If you understand what's actually happening here, your reality is quite different. And the craziest thing to me is, I personally think there will be a time where everybody agrees and understands and uses Bitcoin, but we're not there yet. Just like the internet, everyone uses the internet. We're there. That's, with the S-curve of the technology S-curve inflection point, the internet got there. Bitcoin is still in the process of doing that. So if we look back in 20 years and let's say Bitcoin is worth $5 million, are you going to regret not at least buying some of it at 94,000 US dollars? If you're a rational person, you'd be saying, yes, I would regret that. If I knew Bitcoin was going to go up by another, millions of dollars more in price, then I probably would buy it. And all I'm saying is nobody knows anything for sure, but I think the more research you do, the more convinced you might be. And I want to take a look at this. So we see this chart going back to just summer of 2022. So about 2.5 years ago, this person, Gerald Butts, his name is actually Butts. That's fantastic. What a butthead, am I right? Oh, he has 135,000 followers. I feel very bad for the 135,000 followers if they listen to him. But he said this chart tells you there's still time to lose money on Bitcoin if you get in now. Back when it was 23,000 US dollars. Now it is over 4 times more valuable than that. Right? This absolutely aged like milk. And these people have been around since Bitcoin was created, and they have been wrong every single time, 1,000 out of 1,000%. We also see that I think it's really important to take a zoom out and understand this person saying leaving crypto Twitter gives you a lot of perspective, because this person was saying about how they, have been investing Roth IRA and doing this and that, getting rid of some credit card debt. Basically, they were able to accrue $5,000 in their individual cash account. And this is like a celebratory post. And the only reason I want to highlight this is because people that have been in crypto for a long time, we get very desensitized to where sometimes we'll see hundreds of thousands, millions of dollars, and we think of it as nothing. Whereas for most people on the planet, having $5,000 in your savings or $5,000, that's like, most people don't even have that. So I just think it's important to sometimes zoom out a little bit and understand we have like a distorted view of capital. Like $5,000 for the average person is a decent amount of money. But for most of us, if we throw $5,000 in some garbage coin every other day, that's pretty normal. And we lose it and we think, okay, whatever, I'll just put another 5,000 in the next day. So it always is important to like get a refreshed perspective. Why so quiet? What's on your mind? I don't have enough Bitcoin. Yeah, I just wanted to show this because that's exactly what the only thing I basically think about every time I think about finances and every time I think about investing is I don't have enough. And so far over the last 8 years, that philosophy has made me literally millions of dollars. We also see that this is big. The US dollar after a Trump election, as you can see, it went up. However, look what happened the following time period. And same thing here. We can actually zoom in. This is the US dollar index rebased to election day, where you can see this line here being election day and this being when Trump takes office when Trump takes office. So it pumped after election day, and then you can see what happened afterwards. And the reason I bring this up is because an inverse correlation with the DXY exists for Bitcoin, meaning when the US dollar goes down, Bitcoin typically goes up, and risk on assets do as well. So are we in store for basically, is the DXY on its last leg? Is the DXY, which has been pumping since September, is it about to actually do the opposite of pumping and start dumping? Because Bitcoin is actually pumped while the DXY has pumped, which is very unusual. Bitcoin, I'll tell you one thing, if we saw this start happening on the DXY, Bitcoin is very likely to just start going up big time. So extremely big. We also see that the daily Bitcoin RSI is likely going to completely reset in just a matter of days. The pump past $100,000 will be here sooner than you think. So that's, possible, potentially weeks. It doesn't have to be days, but this is the daily RSI. It could happen over the next few weeks. I personally am not expecting a massive move for Bitcoin until sometime in January, probably closer to the middle of January. That's just my opinion. But we also see that anyone trading this chart is actually insane. I had to black out what was written here because it was some cuss words. And I like to, keep it classy. I like to keep it classy on the channel. But basically, look at this liquidity. Look at all this liquidity below 96,000, and look at all of this liquidity above 96,000. Meaning, a lot of shorts and longs are probably going to get banged in the coming couple of weeks. And trading this Bitcoin specifically is a little risky. Maybe wait for confirmation. As we've been trading sideways, it's usually a safer risk to reward scenario to wait until there's a clear trend break. Right now, we don't have that. We don't have a clear trend break at the moment. We also see that the Bitcoin monthly breakouts are massive. In previous market cycles, when Bitcoin broke out from previous bull cycle peaks on the monthly chart, it often triggered parabolic rallies leading in consecutive months of positive gains. And you can see we're on the verge of doing something similar right now. And according to Nebraskan Gooner on X, this price action is still tracking with his fractal that he posted last week. And what it shows now or next is, another week or so of maybe some slight dumping and sideways before lifting off well above all-time highs. And as well, Bitcoin supply, there's 21 million coins that will ever exist. A little less than 20 million of them are in circulation now, and 15 million actually are in circulation if you remove the coins that are lost. There's estimated to be about 5 million coins permanently lost. This adjusted circulating supply is decreasing and will decrease as years go on, and more people lose their Bitcoin. That's the thing. That's actually another really good point. It's a lot easier to lose Bitcoin than it is to find a new Bitcoin, because if you have a private key or you have a wallet and you lose it, chances are losing it, actually it's not even chances, it just statistically is true, you're much more likely to lose the coins than to find coins. And digital scarcity is far more scarce than most understand. So that's absolutely the case as well. I believe that the real supply and the ability, what's actually available on the open market, I think is a lot less than people understand. And that incredibly quickly decreasing supply is just one more factor that is going to contribute to this asset exponentially rising. It is the most scarce thing, the scarce asset financial instrument that has ever existed. Now, as you see, we're above the right here. We're above this 21-week moving average, which sits right at about 75,000. We have not had a back test of this whole area, which again, I'm not saying we have to, absolutely, but if we did, I would be extremely happy for that opportunity. As I started off the video saying, my goal is it's very simple. For the last 8 years, and specifically more over the last year, I've really focused on this as much as I can and gotten very serious about it. But my goal is to get as much Bitcoin as I can. all of my money is stored in Bitcoin. I have like certain amounts, like if I want to buy something and I have to cash out for something, yes, but like what I use as savings is strictly Bitcoin. And if we get a big dump here, I'm going to be thankful to get cheaper Bitcoin. Now, if we also got a big dump here, let's say we did, then the next big move, whether it be right away or delayed by a couple of weeks or months, would be to the upside massively, is strongly what I believe is going to happen. So with that knowledge, I don't think I really have to explain anymore why that's my stance on what's happening here. At this very second, we're basically struggling to hold on to the 21-day moving average, or sorry, the 50-day. We already fell below the 21-day. We actually just got a rejection in the last 48 hours on the blue 21-day. Now we're on the verge of potentially getting rejected at the 50-day. Hey, bring it down as low as it can go, in my opinion. I personally think this last week of the year doesn't matter in terms of the trend. I don't think there is a real trend for the next few days. As I said, this is it's a very low liquidity week, the least liquidity week of the year. People are not glued to come on guys. Let's be honest. How many people are like, well, I am staring at the charts a little bit, but I'm staring at the charts actually a little bit less than I usually do because friends, family, this is the time of the year where most people spend some time together. It's okay to like get off your computer and phone for a little bit. That's what most people are doing right now. So this is not a very serious time for the next few days. And so far, basically for the last few days and for the next few days, it's not a time where you should really try to determine any trend because most likely there isn't one. Once the new year starts, people will get back into work mode. They'll get back in investing mode. They'll get back into serious work mode. And once that happens, that's when things actually start to matter. But as I said, for right now, there's not like short-term price action is just not super important. Now, if we did get a big breakdown because there's like low liquidity right now and people aren't as interested, let's say we did get a big breakdown, I'm going to be buying that. That's the only thing I'm going to be doing. And I'm going to get really excited to buy it too. Like I really want that opportunity. I'll use my Santa check, the little itsy bitsy dollars that I got from Santa Claus will be going into Bitcoin is the best way for me to put it. And get signed up with FEMX or BITUNIX below for my Bitcoin altcoins or trade. Without any further ado.